welcome to the inaugural LexisNexis Rule of Law Debate 2013. Our goal for this debate is to provide a platform to stimulate discussions in the region towards upholding human rights and advancing the rule of law. Our agenda today provides various perspectives on the topic of human rights, and our debate motion places emphasis on ASEAN.
I, as an individual and as a parent, really feel that this is an opportunity for me to make a difference in the world. We can all improve the rule of law and its impact on society as a whole, even in little pieces, and really improve society. And this dialogue and debate in itself is actually important to advancing the rule of law. The forum, the discussions that will happen here will help more thoroughly enhance this directive, this declaration, and move the needle in terms of this discourse, because all of us are involved in impacting the rule of law and human rights.
The ASEAN Declaration, although has its shortcomings, signal that ASEAN leaders are now more willing than they ever were to be held accountable for human rights violations. We still do not know how this will happen or to what extent governments will be willing to answer for their actions. At the very least, it is a start. It is not impossible for a region so diverse in culture, religion, and society to one day achieve a single human rights entity that is strong, influential, and respected. Europe has done it before across 47 countries and 800 million citizens, all signatories to the European Convention on Human Rights.
Is it really possible to have a universal standard for human rights?
Focusing solely on the question of human rights, ASEAN Court of Human Rights, and the reality on the ground in ASEAN, I think evolution in terms of right and in terms of mechanism that is created will happen, but it will happen slowly and progressively. And I think sometimes we have to bear with that if we want to see a meaningful change.
Regional court where you have judges coming from all states of ASEAN. And that's why it is so important, because it protects these oppressed, the minorities, and especially those people who within the states are, we can see, are persecuted.
Last November, an ASEAN declaration was signed. Today we debate its capacity to wield the banner of human rights in a region that has shown resistance under the guise of so-called Asian values. If you look at the declaration right now, the resounding difference that we can see is the convenient removal of certain political rights that were espoused within the Universal Declaration of Human Rights.
We think that ASEAN Declarations of Human Rights is the most compact and realistic declarations of human rights that we can have as a regional community.
Politicians that are that are against human rights can no longer use the argument that we should reject this human right because this is essentially Western values, ladies and gentlemen. So it's easier for ASEAN countries to gather political support for more freedom of expression.
It also reveals that this declaration was not the messianic instrument that 600 million people in this region has been calling out for. It is nothing more than a fig leaf for political leaders and governments to continue governing the way they have for decades upon decades.
The struggle for human rights is ongoing in ASEAN, and there has been progress. We don't deny that. We just don't think that the ASEAN Declaration helps in this particular struggle.
Under our policy, this law will be more palatable to them and they'll be obligated to follow the law because all 11 ASEAN members and the 10 collective ASEAN members have signed it and agreed to it.
Being the only female in this debate, as usual, I would have to clean up the mess of the men. It's a process, right? These individuals have to come up. You can't just copy and paste and expect people to follow, because if you don't have the willingness of the states and the heads of government in this, ladies and gentlemen, then you will never make them follow any declaration that you would like to have under your proposal.
The winner is International Islamic University, Malaysia.
Make a declaration like that, it's I think one of the panelists said it as well, it's an organic thing. It's not because you make a declaration today that it can never change. So it's good when people talk about it, so that they actually also think about it, so that politicians are forced to think about it and maybe make improvements along the way.
I think this is a good way to introduce this to the students and to ask them to debate on issues that are not just a national matter but also of international importance.
In this day and age, and as we are coming more international, it is a good idea to have a debate on this. The fact that you're opening up avenue to talk about this is, I think, a good idea.